I'm Laurie Cardoza-Moore, and this is Focus on Israel. Apartheid was a system of institutionalized racial segregation that existed in South Africa from 1948 until the early 1990s. In September of 2001, a human rights conference in Durban, South Africa named Israel as an apartheid state and thus launched today's anti-Semitic BDS movement. Hello, I'm Laurie Cardoza-Moore, founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating and sharing the message of Christian biblical responsibility to the people and land of Israel in the face of a growing global anti-Semitism. Proclaiming Justice to the Nations was birthed to stop the silence, to wake up Christians and people of conscience to the realities of a world bent on destroying Israel and the Jewish people. Recently, we were invited by our new PJTN chapter leaders in South Africa to meet with church leaders and Christians there. Christianity is the dominant religion in South Africa, with almost 80% of the population professing to be Christian. Yet the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions movement came out of South Africa under the watchful eye of Christians and Christian leaders. My message to each one of the leaders was the same as the message that I speak to leaders here in the United States of America. Because they do not speak up, anti-Semitism has grown within mainline churches and even evangelical denominations. That's a travesty, because we as Christians, especially those who are Bible-believing evangelicals, should know better. We should know that God made an eternal covenant with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants forever. That covenant, that contract that God made, did not end at the birth of Jesus Christ. It didn't end in 2000 or 2020. That covenant is everlasting and still in effect. To the leaders in South Africa, I asked them, how could you sit back? How could you allow a violation of the 9th commandment by allowing a false witness to be given about Israel, accusing Israel of being an apartheid state? Israel is not an apartheid state. And I said to them, if anybody knows apartheid, you do. When I went to Pretoria to the Museum of the Apartheid, I found an amazing picture of 20,000 Jewish women and South Africans who were protesting the apartheid movement. I was quickly reminded of the civil rights movement here in the United States and who was marching in the streets of Selma, Alabama with our black brothers and sisters. It wasn't the white Christian evangelical or mainline churches. It was the Jewish community. So I asked, how could you sit back and not speak out? I told them, if you look at what's happening around the world, the rise of anti-Semitism, what is fueling it? It's the BDS movement. Listen to all the commentary. Read the articles. They always blame Jews for occupying Palestinian land and engaging in extreme racism against Arabs. So to bring the people the truth, we held events in 3 churches during our 7 days there. These included churches in Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Cape Town. In Cape Town, we had a large gathering at the Friend of God Church. Our distinguished panel of guests helped in our educational forum and included Chris Eden, the National Director of Bridges for Peace, Vivienne Myberg, the National Director for the International Christian Embassy in South Africa, Ben Lubatus, who is from the Western Transvaal, part of South Africa. As a child, he witnessed the horrors of apartheid. His mother sent him off to Israel, where he studied at the Hebrew University and grew to love God's land. Mama Lima Molepo, who is a student at the University of Cape Town and the Western Cape coordinator for South African Friends of Israel, and Steve Swart, one of the longest-serving political leaders who serves as a member of the South African Parliament. He also is the only member of Parliament that's ever said in Parliament, "I'm Israeli."
Please welcome the founder and president of PJTN, Laurie Cardoza-Moore.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live at a very dangerous time in history. All you have to do is look at what's happening in our communities, on our college campuses, in our K through 12 textbooks around the world. This BDS movement is based on the false narrative that Israel is an apartheid state. If anybody understands apartheid, it is South Africa. And that's why we're here. I want to thank all my panelists for joining us. Let's talk about the church and what can we do within our congregations to really see some real change.
I think that what we need to understand is there is a massive onslaught on the church in South Africa at the moment. At the theological level, eroding Israel's validity from a biblical point of view, and then painting a picture of the Middle East which is totally misrepresented of what the facts are on the ground. So it's vital that every one of us mobilizes, every one of us becomes vocal, and every one of us be prepared to actually put ourselves on the line. Because if we don't do that, it's not enough to still just pray another prayer. It's not enough to sign another petition, and I don't want to undermine either of those. But if you do not get out of your seat and become active in this, you're losing ground, because the enemies of Israel are doing exactly that. They're the ones that are there. They're the ones that are active. They're the ones that are reaching a church which is largely ignorant. So you have to be out there challenging your leader, trying to create an opportunity for them to get educated. And that's why you have organizations like those represented here, is to provide that education into the church in South Africa.
Very good, thank you. So Vivian, what can people do on a grassroots level to work with organizations like yours, like SAPI, like PJTN?
Well, obviously become a member, get the information, like the Facebook pages. The battle is in the media today. South Africa is 80% Christian, and we are silent. It's deafening, our silence, and it reminds me of what happened before the Holocaust. And it is a lack of knowledge, and they're not getting the knowledge from the churches. So we need to get the grassroots, educate ourselves, don't believe the media, and search and research for yourself. And the information's out there. As I say, just educate yourself around that. But we are excited to see, even just talking to the BDS quickly, about what's happening in South Africa. And BDS has been put under pressure to say, back down, because who are you supporting here? Are you supporting our nation and our jobs and our people, or are you going to support this narrative around BDS, which is actually just based on lies anyway, and supporting oppressive regimes like Hamas and the PA in their agenda? So play your role in being a voice in that space by educating yourself and getting the knowledge. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Steve, if you would be so kind to introduce yourself and then discuss the government position on Israel, and for this to include the downgrade of the embassy.
Thank you, Dr. Laurie, and good evening, everyone. So for me, it's always been a passion. It's been a God-given real passion to stand with Israel and the Jewish people. Quickly on the embassy downgrade, I've got so much to say, but it's absolutely disgraceful. It's disgraceful that there should be even a consideration of a downgrade. And we need to understand that it is a political move, again, from BDS movement, from people that have got to make this narrative work. And that's why, Dr. Laurie, you've identified, if we can defeat this narrative in South Africa and the BDS, it will fall worldwide, because this is their stronghold right here. So we need voter education. We've had the elections. Our party grew. But just think if we had 30, 40 MPs, that every opportunity we could stand for Israel and other related issues. Second issue is Politicians look for numbers. That's why that petition is very significant. We need numbers, but we don't want tens of thousands. We need hundreds of thousands of signatures. It's time to start standing up and putting action to our words, and that will change things in this nation.
Amen. So you heard it. So we need to mobilize, ladies and gentlemen. Mama Lima Molepo, if you would be so kind to introduce yourself and your background, and also talk about the situation on the university campus for students regarding anti-Semitism, Israel, and the IAW.
The main problem around college campuses in South Africa is the narrative, and the narrative where people have kind of taken the apartheid narrative and they've applied it to the Israel-Palestine situation. And within that, then people kind of shut down when it comes to having to delve deeper into the situation and look at what is going on. It's not as violent as it is in the US, but in terms of isolation of people, you do get isolated for speaking up for Israel. You do get made up the political and the social pariah on campus. So the biggest thing that we really have right now is that we need to be speaking up. We need to be reaching out to all the people that we don't reach out to the silent majority that exists, because really there's only 10% of people that really care about what's going on with Israel, be it people that support Israel or be it people that speak out against Israel. And that 90% in the middle that exists are people that need to be spoken to and people that need to be engaged on a daily basis.
Ben, my last question to you would be, what would you recommend to our audience to get involved in what's happening on the college campuses?
I come from the Western Transvaal, which was, and probably still is, the most conservative part of South Africa. I witnessed with my own eyes, growing up there, the horrors of apartheid. And even as a young kid, 8, 9, I could actually see what was happening. And I can't accept the mantra that I never knew what was going on, as many people said, and many people in Germany said as well. Your film, one of the people interviewed there quoted from Matthew, and he spoke about the deception. And I think that is one of the problems that BDS is doing. It is deceiving us all about the truth. And not only that, but it is using the deception as a way of deflecting attention from what is happening to Christians in the Middle East. All over the Middle East, Christians are being slaughtered, discriminated against, and harassed. And I think, I've got to say this here. I applaud your stand, and I applaud Vivian's stand in the International Christian Embassy and Bridges for Peace, the stand that you take in support of Jews. But I also think that we need to give some thought to all those Christians that are suffering daily.
I want to take you to Israel in pictures and film. I want you to see how God's sovereign hand can be seen before our eyes right here in this land. That's why PJTN is offering a special anniversary package that includes a captivating new book and award-winning DVD. Israel Rising is a unique visual story of Israel's miraculous journey from unforgiving desert to thriving nation. Thousands of years ago, the prophet Ezekiel foretold a future time in which the arid land of Israel would come alive for its people. Now this breathtaking book documents the fulfillment of this vision, as rarely seen photographs from the 1880s to the 1940s are juxtaposed with recent photos of the same locations. This book will inspire and captivate you as it illuminates Israel's foretold awakening in a new and unforgettable way. In addition, you'll receive the award-winning documentary, Israel Indivisible, The Case for the Ancient Homeland. This inspiring film examines the many political twists and turns that make Israel the world's most controversial nation. From Abraham and the Promise to the issues facing the Jewish state today, the film examines the historical, archaeological, legal, and biblical foundations for the modern state of Israel. This is a limited time offer for these two remarkable resources for just a one-time gift of $70 today. Your generous donation will help ensure that PJTN stays on the front lines and in the headlines of all the important issues facing Israel and our Jewish brethren. So please go to pjtn.org today. From studying history, it's very clear that what starts with the Jews never ends only with the Jews. We must strongly stand against any anti-Semitic trends, for if not stopped, they'll cause harm to all of us, and we'll witness the downfall of our Judeo-Christian Western culture. Today, many people say there's no longer a need for a Jewish state, that Jews around the world no longer need a place of refuge. But anyone who has heard recent statistics about the worldwide rise in anti-Semitism would never make such a claim. The reality is that neo-Nazi groups and Nazi sympathizers are increasing around the world. Surveys show that over 1 billion people in the world harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Close to 50% believe that Jews have too much power in the business world, and 2/3 of the world's population has never heard of the Holocaust or believe the historic accounts of it are inaccurate. Don't let yourself be manipulated by evil people with a wicked agenda. When the self-serving villains are in control, good people from all religions suffer. Muslims, Christians, and all people of conscience should stand proudly and show respect for a country that gives so much to the world in so many ways. Do your part, do your research, and do what you can to make a difference. Because what happens in Israel does affect us all. This is not just a Jewish or just an Israeli problem. This is a problem for all humanity, for each and every one of us who believe in freedom and human rights. Learn more about what you can do at pjtn.org. At our event in Johannesburg, we had another large crowd of truth seekers. This event included a showing of our documentary film about the BDS movement titled Boycott This. Following the screening, we had a panel discussion that included 4 distinguished guests. Dr. Gavi Sachs is the National Executive Director of South African Friends of Israel. He has spent the last 10 years bringing education to churches and advising of ways to build bridges between Israel and South Africa. Dr. Segun Olimpakun is Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Christian Leadership Development. He convenes the Africa Leadership Summit in Jerusalem biannually. He is also the founder and international president for the Africa-Israel Chamber of Commerce, mobilizing African entrepreneurs to connect with the startup culture in Israel. Linda Gabodo is the founder of VUCA Africa Foundation, a foundation that takes a message of hope, healing, and restoration to the continent of Africa and to the diaspora. One of the pillars of VUCA Africa is that Africa stands with Israel. And Reverend Mishwe, he is founder of Agape Family Church and serves in various Christian leadership organizations. Our discussion centered on our biblical responsibility to stand with Israel and the Jewish people against the rise of anti-Semitism, specifically as it pertains to the BDS movement. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. We're going to start with Gavi. Gavi, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to our audience and telling us a little bit about what you do. And we're grateful to have you here, Gavi.
Thank you, Dr. Laurie Cardoza. My name is Dr. Gavi Sachs. I'm the National Executive Director of South African Friends of Israel. We've been building relations with different religious communities, predominantly the evangelic Christian community here in South Africa, to understand how we need to stand up and speak out for our shared biblical connections to the Holy Land. It has been our work for the last 10 years to build bridges, bring education to your churches, and advise of ways that we can build bridges between Israel and South Africa. As a Jew that's attended Wits University, UNISA, and many other academic institutions, I'll tell you that wearing a yarmulke, a kippah, it represents the fact that above emotion and above intellect sits God. It is something that a Jew should be proud to wear. But our university campuses have made it a very unsafe place to be identified as a Jewish person. Is something that is now not only sitting within the mindset of people that wish to eradicate the Jewish nation, but it now arrives where education as the backbone of Christian and Jewish identity is attacked at universities as well. So how the Jewish people has responded, we've created South African Friends of Israel to work with Bible-believing people to understand the identity of Jews and Christians that exist in one and only place given by God.
And as the prophet Isaiah, chapter 11, would say, that this miraculous event that is occurring in our lifetime, Gavi, is a testimony to your comments. So thank you so much. We're excited to have you here on the panel with us tonight. Okay, Pastor Segun, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to our audience, tell us about your background.
Thanks, Dr. Moore. It's a pleasure meeting you. My name is Segun Olanipekun. I am Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Christian Leadership Development, operating out of South Africa since 2005. And we say in our classes, we do not call it a seminary. We say that we want to raise leaders who can apply biblical principles to public life and to everyday life. Okay. And then we say it is not possible for you to love the God of Israel without loving the Israel of God. And we go further to discuss the fact that in the replacement theology, the assumption is that God has replaced Israel with the church because the church has been because Israel has been unfaithful. And then my response to that is, so if that is the character of the God of the Bible, and he has rejected Israel because Israel is unfaithful, when is God going to reject the church? Because the church has also been unfaithful.
Touché. Okay, so please, Apostle Linda, introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your background.
My name is Linda Kobodo. I'm the founder of Vuka Africa Foundation. Vuka Africa Foundation takes a message of hope, healing, and restoration to South Africa and to the continent of Africa and to the diaspora, calling Africa to arise, to lead, and to rebuild Africa. I want to encourage people to go to Israel. Don't listen to people. Go to Israel, especially us South Africans who went through apartheid. We know apartheid. So we are the ones who are supposed to be vocal in terms of Israel is not an apartheid state because we know apartheid. You go to Israel, you go to the beaches. I think we saw some in one of these clips. You see Palestinians with their families, with their children, walking the streets. Nobody's shooting them. They are walking the street because if they were in threat, they wouldn't. They are sitting by the beach, enjoying the beaches of Israel. And we're sitting here, we're fighting for them, we want to liberate them, and so on. And they're there enjoying the benefits. You know? So, you understand what I'm saying? So, go and see for yourself and be able to tell what you've seen. So it's better for people to get education, yes, but go and see for yourself.
Amen. Pastor Mosu, could you please introduce yourself to our audience and give us a little background about the work you're doing as well?
My name is Mpho Muswiu, and I'm a pastor of a church, the founder of Agape Family Church. And as a church, we have a platform to impact and to transform and to touch communities. So we're teaching from children's church. We're changing the curriculum of our children's church and begin to teach them about the Bible, because Israel is the Bible. Yes. We can't separate Israel from the Bible. We went to Jericho in Israel. My first trip. One of the cities we went to was Jericho. And we drove into Jericho. There were some startling things that I saw there. Number one, there's a massive board at the outskirts of the city. Jews not allowed here. So we got out of the bus and we talking to the locals. When we got off the bus and we said we come from South Africa, almost the town was celebrating. They were celebrating that we are South Africans, the Palestinians. And when I ask why, because they see us as their liberators. So when my sister says the Lord is not happy with us, this is how we are seen and perceived in the West Bank. We are seen as liberators of the Palestinian people against Israel. So this is very serious.
Well, that's our program for today, and I want you to know we appreciate your support. The time to take a stand is now. Be a leader in your community and in your church. One person can make a difference. Get involved with and support pro-Israel organizations such as PJTN. Call your senators, congressmen. Let your elected leaders hear from you. Visit our website to learn more. Sign up to receive free action alerts and order our films to share with family and friends. Please encourage everyone you know to tune in and become informed. God bless you, and thank you for all you do on behalf of our Jewish brethren and all Israel. We'll see you next time on Focus on Israel.
To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, P.O. Box 682711, Franklin, Tennessee 37068. You can also support PJTN online. Visit pjtn.org or call 1-877-873-9020.
Anti-Semitism has reached epic proportions, and Israel is now surrounded by nations who seek its destruction. For Israel to lose just one battle would mean losing everything. As Christians, it is our biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren and Israel. PJTN needs your help to reach more Christians with this urgent message. Please visit our website to become a member today and order our award-winning documentaries. You must decide that you won't be silent. Sign up now at pjtn.org. God bless you, and thank you for your support and prayers.